Hello there guys, it's Matsimus here with you again playing some more Steel Beast Pro. Yes, we're continuing on our, I guess, tank tactics tutorial videos for Steel Beast Pro to allow those newer players out there to get a kind of a feel for the game and see what is available. Now, for those of you who are new to the game, sometimes you will see the vehicle you see in front of you on your screen, or within your battle group, or in your company, platoon, whatever it may be. And a lot of people just have no freaking idea what it is. They jump inside of it, they press a couple of buttons, they think, well, okay, this is cool. What the hell does it do? It's got no guns on it. It just looks like a giant laser. Well, guys, it kind of is a giant laser, to be honest. However, it's not the kind of laser that you're thinking of in terms of sort of destroying things. Its main purpose really is a field artillery observer unit. Now this is known as the M981 FISTV, Fire Support Team Vehicle. It's been used by the United States Army. It is their armored vehicle designed for an artillery observer team to be placed within mechanized units. It was based on the M901 Improved TOW Vehicle, or the ITV. And itself is based on the ubiquitous, I can't even say that word correctly, I'm useless, the M113 Armored Personnel Carrier. We're all very aware of what that particular carrier is. It's the beautiful, fast, nimble little personnel carrier that's been used all over in multiple conflicts around the world, and still I think is used to this day. It outwardly and pretty much closely resembles the M113, however it does have a couple of subtle features. The turret you see on top, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit here, has been placed on this particular weapons platform because it is able to be a little bit more conspicuous on the battlefield, and we wanted to make sure that it can be hidden and tuck away and move around very quickly in the battlefield. So, the principal equipment on the FISTV is the Ground Vehicular Laser Locator Designator, or G/VLLD, okay? It's pronounced GLID. The device obtains precise range information to a lased target. Okay, so basically, this is just a giant laser beam. When combined with the directional control from an inertial navigation system, and the vehicle coordinates from a global positioning system. So basically, just a GPS system locates with it too. The system is then able to precisely coordinate and designate targets. And we all know exactly what those sort of designations are going to be for. Artillery, guys. We want to be able to utilize artillery as much as possible in armored warfare, and very, very relevant in Steel Beast Pro. So, how do we go about doing that? Well, I'm going to discuss that in a little while here, but first I just want to go over a couple more cool little interesting facts to learn about the FISTV, or the M981. Although the M981 was supposed to be armed with the mounted M60 machine gun, in fact, safety considerations associated with soldiers operating outside while this high-powered laser was operating resulted in crews being equipped with a detached M249 squad automatic weapon, otherwise known as the SAW, instead. The FISTV also has 4 SINCGAS radios to track numerous voice and data radio nets pertinent to support operations. Basically, it has a gigantic radio antenna on the back there to be able to receive long wave and shortwave radios, high frequency, all that sort of stuff. So, employment of this vehicle identifies targets and sends their designation and descriptions to the location to the Fire Direction Center, normally a tent or another vehicle call sign in the background there that is able to call in and designate artillery. Very, very important people, and they have a very crucial mission and role to be able to put artillery on target correctly and accurately. But to do so, they need to employ these guys on the battle group in the front line, being able to locate those targets and give good fire control for the rest of the artillery units. Each armor or mechanized infantry company in the United States Army had one of these M981s. Its crew consisted of a lieutenant, normally, a non-commissioned officer, and a couple of soldiers, probably a driver and the, I guess, the extra crew member to provide coffee, who knows. This crew doubles as the advisors to the company commander on fire support issues. So if there are any issues with the fire support for the company, these guys are going to be the ones to talk to. They're all going to be liaised with in regards to calling in artillery, and they're very important for the commander or 2IC to be able to call in artillery. So these are the boys. FISTVs are also used by combat observation and lasing teams, otherwise known as COLTs, and they are a brigade asset. Very, very important. They're positioned to support the brigade's fire plans. So that's basically the history of the FISTV, and now I'm going to go over a couple of key features in regards to Steel Beast Pro and how we can actually utilize this damn thing to help us in missions. Okay guys, so we are sat in the commander's position of our FISTV vehicle right now. As you can see, we are overlooking a beautiful firing range from my artillery setup that I'm going to show you guys in this vehicle. Now what I am going to do for now is I'm just going to shut down the vehicle here because it is nice to be able to talk without having to listen to that horrible rumbling diesel engine, or petrol engine, not sure, presuming it was diesel. So what I want to quickly go over is what I mentioned before in regards to the GLID, or the G/VLLD system. So the GLID allows the M981 to locate target coordinates by measuring distance, elevation and azimuth to an aim point with respect to the GLID's location, basically known as polar plotting. Okay. It is to designate stationary and moving targets for precision and guided munitions. Okay, there's multiple munitions that the artillery utilizes, and this can help for both. In addition to the GLID, the M981 also carries a single dismounted Forbes observation team, so we can pull guys out of this vehicle as infantry to be able to utilize on the battlefield to use binoculars or whatever they may be to observe the enemy. The M981 is fully crewable in Steel Beast Pro, both driver, tank commander and the dismount team, but only partially modelled with no 3D interior views. So as you can see right now, we're looking on the exterior of the M113 or the M981 here. We see the beautiful little engine decks, our driver's hatch at the front here. We are sat in our commander's hatch. And as we go down in different height variants, which is going to be either the Q key to go up and the Z key to go down into the hatch. Okay, clearly they haven't modelled anything on the inside, which is just fine. I mean, at the end of the day, this isn't a vehicle we utilise that much, but as we go deeper into the vehicle itself, we're only allowed to go any further than looking through the periscope hatches, which isn't a great problem, really not a big deal. Now we're going to go into the commander's site, okay guys, but as you can see right now, everything's black. Why is it black, you ask? Well, it's quite clearly the vehicle is in kind of the hatch down, lockdown, shutdown mode. We're not going to see anything through our GLID because the GLID is not up. Okay, we go into the third person view here, our GLID is deployed automatically. Whenever you go into third person and you are stationary, the GLID deploys. Now, as you can see, it pretty much popped out from the back there, kind of like a robotic arm, and up it comes. Now you can see on the front here, this is where our laser designator comes through the top, or one of these orifices here, and obviously our sighting unit on which the commander is actually going to look through. So I'm going to jump back into my commander's spot. We are once again just looking through our periscopes. We're going to come up and up again. Oh, and all of a sudden I have a giant GLID in my way. So guys, when you are in the commander's position, it's absolutely pointless trying to look in a first person perspective when the vehicle is stationary with the GLID up, because at the end of the day, the commander has no use being in this position. The best place for you to be in is in the first person view through the sight, and to do so we're going to press F2. We are now in the GLID sighting system, and we are in the the least magnified view, and we are, as you can obviously clearly see, the thermal imaging sight. So we don't really want night vision right now because we're not at night, and it's just a lot nicer to look through the scope with this beautiful clarity across our artillery firing range. So as I said before, we are in the least magnified view range right now, and that's fine. That's really nice, big field of view here. So if you notice, when I say field of view, we have a very large area on which we are observing from left to right. The distance, I'm not entirely sure, but you can clearly see from an area that we're overlooking right now, we can see a lot of distance looking through this particular sighting system, and that's exactly what we want to have when utilizing and calling in for fire artillery. So this is our least amount of magnification, and if we press the N key, it takes a bit of time to boot up, but it zooms in nice and close, and this is beautiful, guys. Now, in terms of the reticles, and in terms of different types of hash marks and stuff and taglines on the sighting system itself, I'm not going to go into too deeply. However, I'm going to discuss a couple of things on the bottom here that are quite prevalent. Now, if you notice, there's kind of like a rifle scope. We're looking at the crosshairs, and we're going to be wanting to point out whatever we're going to be wanting to call the artillery on. Pretty self-explanatory. As you can see in the corner here, we have a tree. Well, let's just right-click as we would any other, or I guess our lase button, any other vehicle, and see what happens. So as you can see, the bottom left of my screen there, it says lase. We have pressed the lase button, and on the bottom left there, it shows our azimuth, which is 1865, our range, which is 1000, I think that's a 7. Let's just rearrange here. So let's just do that, okay? So we're at 1853 azimuth, range is 2700, and our elevation is -051, okay? Also, in the red numbers you see above there, it gives us an 8-figure grid reference. Guys, if you don't know what an 8-figure grid reference is, please feel free to check some other channels out there. I'm not going to explain it too much to you right now. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you know how to read a map, that's exactly what it's giving you, is a grid reference, and that's also extremely important for calling in artillery. So, with all these details and all this information we have right here, this is going to give us a really nice indication for our vehicle to call in artillery. So, in the third-person view, going into F8, okay, we can see our vehicle is clearly shut down on top of this hill. Because this piece of equipment is very, very sensitive, it cannot be utilized on the move, guys. This is obviously going to be quite self-explanatory. We never want to be calling in artillery using a laser that shoots directly in a straight line and causing a perfect match to an area if we're moving. If we have a moving vehicle, guys, and we try and lase something or try and spot something, the position on which we are from to the position that we're attacking is changing all the time, and that causes risk for potential indirect fire to our own men, missed fires on enemy positions, and that's something we really don't want to be doing. So guys, top tip for you for tank tactics today: if you are in the M981 FISTV vehicle, stand still, shut down, go quiet, find a good hold down position or hiding position. If you're not sure what that is, please check out my previous video for tank tactics. It talks a little bit about hold down positions, and see if you can get good eyes on enemy positions, okay? Once you're hull down and once you're in a nice safe spot, shut the engine down, keep quiet, fire your FISTV up, fire your GLID up or your GVLLD, and be able to observe that enemy position. Okay, guys? You cannot utilize this system when moving. However, when I fire up my vehicle and start moving, it will take a little bit of time to go away, but it will automatically return to the rear and allow me to jump back into my commander's spot and drive around comfortably on top of this hill, being able to relocate to another position. Now, we are going to relocate to another position right now because we're actually going to call in some artillery, and I'm going to kind of go over some of the key features that we have in the artillery mode when using both the map and just calling in directly. So we're going to find a nice firing position here. This is a nice area. Okay, we're going to neutral turn a little bit, hold here, and if you look in the distance here, this wood line is what we're going to try and aim for. So, first of all, we found our nice firing position. We're not perfectly hull down, but for the purpose of just doing this training mission, I am just going to hold this position so you can kind of get a good eyes on. We are going to shut down our engines. Okay, keep it nice and quiet. And we're going to push our GLID forward. Now, to do so, we need to press the Shift key, and I believe it's Q. Yes, there we go. So that's going to bring our GLID all the way around. See, it's deploying to the top there. Looks really cool. And our giant laser ready to destroy Martians and aliens is set up. I'm just kidding. We're to destroy wood lines today. We're not going to put live targets on the ground because, I don't know, I just couldn't be bothered to put the vehicles out there. Pardon me. And there she is, ready to aim and put some artillery on target. So let's go over how to actually call in artillery and utilize this thing. Okay, so let's quickly go over some of the key features that we can utilize in Steelbeast Pro. In Steelbeast, the tank commander and gunner's position on the M981 are considered as a single crewable station accessed by the F7 key. We already know this. From this position, the user can raise and lower their perspective and the exposure level by holding the Q key to go up and down using the Z key. As we've already said, we can go up and we can go down. Okay. As with the M901 ITV, the M981 is equipped with the Squad Leader's Periscope, which is basically what I described to you earlier, but this device is not normally modelled. Instead, the commander controls the hammerhead, which holds the GLID sight assembly. The sight can be raised by pressing the Shift Q key, which we already did, and can be lowered pressing the Shift Z key. Okay. Similar how it is done on both the M282 Bradley and the M382 Bradley vehicles, basically with our anti-tank guided missiles on the side. Note that the GLID sight view will only be active once the hammerhead has been fully raised. So if you can't see anything through the sight yet, guys, that's because your GLID is not fully deployed like it is looking right now. Big caution here, guys, big caution. As I said before, when in the commander's position, the sight assembly must be lowered before moving out, or you will risk damaging it. As I said before moving out, most of the time it will automatically do it, but feel free to make sure that it is lowered by holding Shift and Z to make sure you don't damage that sensitive laser equipment. So, the GVLLD sight, or F2 position on your keyboard, features a day sight and a separate AN-TAS4 thermal sight, which we mentioned before, with 2 magnifications levels for each. The day, let's just jump in there. Okay, so we are on night vision right now, and we can go into 2 times view, as mentioned here. The day channel's 4 times wide angle mode lacks any markings that should be used when observing an area. As I mentioned before, nice field of view. We're going to turn our thermals off. Big old field of view and no real markings. The day channel's 13 times narrow, so there we are. It takes a bit of time to boop up. 13 times narrow. Features a simplified version of the actual grid reticle and should be considered the primary channel for target engagement. Okay, so this is what we want to be utilizing. So, to call for fire in SteelBeast Pro, the part that we really wanted to get to is to finally blow some stuff up. And it's very, very simple. Initiating a call for fire or utilizing the grid is simplified in SteelBeast Professional with various automated procedures. Once a potential target has been identified, simply centering the target in the narrow field of view reticle, i.e. the 13 times zoom reticle, by using the control key or your typical key mapped lase key, will provide the azimuth, range and elevation angle data along with the target's 8-digit grid location. Very, very important. Along the day sight's bottom edge. So let's get back into our gun sight. Flick it to day by pressing our plus key. Zoom in nice and tight, and we want to go for, as we mentioned before, that tree. So we have our azimuth, our range, our elevation and our grid reference. Okay. Lasing with the thermal sight generates the same data but is only visible in the day channel. Okay, so once you're in the night sight, okay, you can only see the data that you've played on there. Okay, so we'll just switch target to the road by switching to there. Okay, you notice day sight nothing, sorry, night sight nothing, day sight range. Okay, we'll just change it again to give you another idea, and it's changed again. Okay, once target data is generated, you can request for a fire mission via the support tab with greater accuracy. So we have our grid reference. Now I'm not going to get into calling in direct perfect fire really today, because really this is as far as the FISTV needs to go in terms of calling in accurate fire for now. But what I am going to do is we find our firing position. We want to go for the woods, so let's jump back into our commander spot, go to F2, switch to my night sight, zoom into my 13 times magnification, zero on that tree, and there we have our data. We're going to go to F5. And I have called in a couple of fire missions already before here, just for kind of zeroing properties and to make sure that I know exactly what's going on with the FISTV, because it's been a while since I've utilized it. But this is how we go about calling in artillery. So we have our data placed in for the position here, which I know is this area because I've already kind of range mapped it up. And what we're going to do is we're going to right click, and you notice it has a little scroll bar. You should already know this if you've played SteelBeast Pro. If you don't, where have you been? We're going to have to do a lot more tutorial videos. No, but I'm sure most of you already do. And obviously at the bottom, if you have the ability to call in artillery and the mission allows you to, I'm in the mission editor, so it is obviously allowing me to because I've just got free reign. But we have multiple variations of weapon systems here. HE, ICM, smoke, HE and smoke mix, and airstrikes 2 times 500-pound bombs. Ouch! So, going through different variations of ammunition here. HE is high explosive. Okay, ICM is basically minefields. Okay, we can actually set minefields onto the battlefield and allow them to be remotely detonated, etc., etc. Very cool pieces of equipment. We do have smoke to cover our area or to basically obscure the enemy position. And we have high explosive and smoke mix. And obviously an airstrike is pretty self-explanatory. We are going to call in high explosive, guys, because everybody likes a giant explosion. First of all, we're going to call our mission, and this is basically our call for fire or fire mission tab. It's got a lot of different data, and we're going to go through it really quickly here. So our fire mission name is going to be Matsimus is awesome. I'm just kidding, he's not awesome. We're just going to put it as Matsimus. Okay, now, type of mission is the next tab. Now, we have immediate suppression, adjust for fire, and fire for effect. So immediate suppression means we need to get rounds on target ASAP. Shit is gone sour and we need rounds on target, okay? Adjust fire basically means that we're going to put a few rounds down on target, okay? And we're going to be able to adjust our fire as needs be. So it's going to be a short burst fire. Fire for effect is pretty much put as many rounds down on target until I'm happy that the enemy is either destroyed or you are located on target correctly, so that I can then adjust your rate of fire and your aim of fire for later on. This is all communicated to the artillery wherever they may be. Type of round, as we already said before, we picked our ammunition, but we do have the ability to change it again here. Number of tubes. So this is the number of weapon systems that are being utilized in the artillery unit. We're only going to use, well, we're going to bump it up. Let's put 20 tubes, okay? So 20 guns that are behind the enemy line or behind friendly lines somewhere are going to be utilized in this fire mission. Rounds per minute, not too concerned, but we're going to stick it to max case because we want to try and get those artillery crews earning their paychecks and putting some rounds down target. Total rounds per tube, okay? So this is the number of rounds going through each tube. So if we have 20 tubes, okay, and we did 2 rounds in each of them, that's still a lot of ammunition, okay? So we need to be careful of how many tubes we're utilizing in terms of how many rounds per tube, okay? But we are going to go for 2 right now. And duration, clearly you can pick however long you want them to fire for. If you're telling a gun crew to fire for an hour at that rate, they're going to be tired and you're probably going to run out pretty quickly. We're going to go a 2-minute fire mission very, very quickly, okay? Total rounds per tube, we're not going to worry about it too much. It's adjusted it for our 2-minute fire mission. Method of control, we can either tell them to fire at my command or at a time. At my command is basically when we send it, it'll fire. Fire when ready is basically whenever they're ready to go, it'll fire. When we do fire at my command, it basically, I think, I'm not too sure, it creates a trigger, and I'll discuss what that is in a second. And time on target, we can just basically set time of which we want it to fire, which relates to our time on the right hand side here. Mission time, H time, and normal time. Okay? We're going to do fire when ready, so as soon as they're all set, we're going to let them fire away. This is then our location, okay? It shows the map and our laser rangefinder. So if we go back to our, let's go back to our crew position here. We had 77339243. So let's go back to our map. Go back to our artillery call. I'm going to have to redo all this because I'm an idiot. That's fine. We'll just do fire when ready. Duration 1 minute. There we go. Back to 20 tubes. Get 20 guns firing. It's going to be nice and blasty. And there we go. 77339243. Laser rangefinder 1. And it is already pre-calculated. Everything is done for us. And we know that that's where those rounds are going to land. Hopefully. We are going to choose the distance on which we want our spread of the ammunition to land. We have lengths in meters, and it only goes up to from a minimum of 20 meters to a maximum of 400 meters in length, and exactly the same for width. We're going to keep it for 200 for 200. It's quite nice area to knock out, say, a platoon of tanks or a company of infantry set up in the wood line, etc. We're not going to create altitude because we're not too worried about that. We're not utilizing an airstrike right now. And tanks, PCs, trucks, personnel. So we're basically telling the gun crews what exactly they're taking out. This is basically to give the company commander, or whoever is calling in for the fire mission, an idea of what they're engaging so they can pass it on to the CO. Again, number of tanks, details that the crews may want to know in the background. And protection level, again, telling them exactly what they're covered in. If they have protection of overhead cover, do they have tank traps, do they have trenches, are they just standing in the open, etc. All stuff that the CO or fire artillery crews may want to know. So when you're all set, everything's happy, you've got your laser rangefinder set in from your M198 FISTV, and everything is good to go, we are then able to send our fire mission, and we're going to send it now. So, it's hard to see, but unfortunately I've already put a couple of fire missions down, so it's a little bit difficult to see. But as you can see, this is our fire mission as of right now. AB0005. Okay, this is our firing mission. It says a +sign 236. So this is the rough estimated time of which our artillery will land on target as splash. Now, if you've heard that term before, please ignore what I'm about to say, but splash basically means the artillery call sign or designation along the radio to say that artillery is about to land on that position now. Splash is now. It's kind of a code word to say artillery is there. And then the FISTV or whatever other call sign is monitoring that area can then watch in the distance and say, splash is coming in, bang. That's when, as a forward observation or artillery observation team, can then request to adjust fire. Maybe they're missing, they're not calling in correctly. But if artillery just comes out of nowhere and they're not too sure where they're looking at, for instance, if we did accidentally put the wrong coordinates, let's just fire her up here. If we accidentally had put the wrong coordinates into this vehicle, okay, or sorry, to our artillery crews, okay, and we did not know when or not those potential rounds were coming in, if they landed over here, okay, and we didn't hear the splash beforehand, we may not be looking over there, okay, and we don't know where they're landing. So if we can hear a splash coming across the radio, we have a good idea that, okay, rounds should be hitting right now. If they're not hitting that tree that we were looking at before, let's jump back into our firing spot here. if we heard splash, okay, from our artillery call signs on the radio, okay, and we did not see rounds hitting this area, something's gone wrong. We immediately need to go back into our wide field of view, scan around, oh crap, all of a sudden we notice the rounds are popping off in this area over here, which is not where we wanted our fire support to go and our artillery, so we need to adjust for fire. And that's where the splash is coming in for. A lot of people just wonder, why are they saying splash? Well, that's what it's for, guys. It's to be able to allow the observation team to monitor multiple areas just in case there is a correction for fire. And especially important if we are in close proximity to friendly units. So, guys, let's wait for that artillery to come in and see what happens, shall we? Okay guys, we just got our splash call sign come in on the bottom left there, or sorry, splash radio, and there we go. Splash has been called. Artillery is landing beautifully in the distance there. We're going to hear it soon. There we go. The sound barrier has finally caught up with us. Our rounds are landing perfectly on target in that position that we lased up. So clearly, the FISTV is very, very useful in calling in artillery. And artillery is extremely important when returning fire against especially Russian onslaughts into the Soviet armor, because artillery is our best friend. It denies the enemy ground. It also covers us for either an advance or a tactical withdrawal. We never say retreat, and it really needs to be utilized, guys. So I hope today gave you at least a little of an inkling or a little bit of an idea of how to utilize artillery in game. Remember, guys, you don't have to have your FISTV to be able to call in the artillery. Okay, you do have the ability to call it in just as standard triggers or as just a standard artillery request on your map, utilizing the same tab that we used for the FISTV. You just need to obviously not choose your laser rangefinder, which wouldn't be an option anyway because you didn't have one. You just basically use the map coordinates that are already been designated where you've right-clicked on the map. So there's our artillery, finished its fire mission then, and we're going to go back home for tea and biscuits. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Please leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe if you're a new viewer. Plenty more tutorial videos coming. If you have any requests and you're not too sure what's going on in a particular part of SteelBeast Pro, please leave a comment and I will try my best to work it out for you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a great day and bye-bye.